Commissions. One, we call the meeting to order on Thursday, April 12th. So we'll just do some introductions. I am J.D. Miller, Chairman of the Board. We'll go this way.
Linda Hayes, Director of the Senior Center.
Sheila Sorrentino, Board Member.
Leslie James, Board Member.
Ellen Foster, Board Member.
Janice Lindblom, Board Member.
Janice Desmond, Board Member.
Carol King, Board Member for the Friends of Scituate Seniors.
Joan Powell Osborne for the South Shore Elderly Services.
Jordan Bryce, Vice Chair.
Okay, very good. Well, why don't we jump right into, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at these minutes?
So the minutes are pending, unfortunately.
Not a problem.
We do not have minutes yet from the last meeting, so we just put that.
Oh, so I'm
in an email
sorry, I
like that.
was sort of looking at
Right.
the director's report being, well, so,
And I guess I can mention, so John Danahy did call. He wasn't sure if he could make it, but was still going to try, but might be on the later side, and we may be finished. So I'll call him if that's the case. Caitlin may make it late. He was away.
yes, okay. Well, I know we had offline conversations or discussions. Want to thank everyone for their time and effort this past week. It was a long town meeting.
Well, we made phase one.
But we, and it was a nail biter and a stomach churner at times.
Go ahead.
So, away we go. The next step, as I think I mentioned earlier in an email, is we have applications for 6 architectural firms that submitted for consideration. So we'll start digging into that, and away we go. So
When's the next public hearing?
I think that, well,
Tuesday.
the next two Tuesdays.
Oh,
And so at some point, we'll go through as a committee and determine who to invite, and then we'll invite, and hopefully they'll show up, and we'll have a round of interviews, and then we'll determine who is the consensus selection. So,
And so is that going to be all the applications for architects now it's closed?
Apparently, so they originally had 30 respondents
Yeah, 30
to
responses
the
from people.
publication of
to
the,
send out the RFP.
Had it whittled down to some.
and they got one, two,
I mean, those 24 of them decided not to submit.
they actually got 10 on the walkthrough of the
Who's that?
Old Gate School property, which they did on March 28th. And then only 6 ended up applying,
Yeah.
so, or at least submitting.
So the town posted a request for those interested. 30 firms requested the documents, but then after looking at the documents, clearly they decided out of scope, too much time, don't have manpower, I mean, whatever the reasons. But
Sure,
but we
okay.
had 30 firms that had requested, and then were all sent the information, and then 6 came back with a formal bound
And I am,
response.
I guess, I am sorry to say that not in the 6, John Catlin is not the 6,
Really?
so, because he did come to the
He did come to the
walkthrough,
walkthrough.
and he had called me beforehand,
Yeah.
and he seemed
Yeah.
pleased and enthusiastic.
Was part of the RFP to demolish the existing and create?
Part of the RF.
Well, they were walking
was-
through with John Lemieux, who's our owner's project manager from Vertex.
Uh-huh.
So if they showed up, they were walking the property and the building.
The project description and objective, more or less, and I think this is up to date. After several years of study, analysis, and schematic design, the town of Scituate plans to move forward with construction of a new senior center on the grounds of the previous Gates Intermediate School. The selected designer will be asked to review the feasibility of saving a portion of the existing Gates building, specifically the A wing and existing gym, for connection to the new senior center building. And then noting the B and C wings would be demolished and the senior center would be located where the new wing currently sits. So that scope had been somewhat added after our initial meetings with the Public Building Commission, but, so they did know, and I'm sure that, maybe that was part of it. I had also heard from someone else that I checked their website and I really liked them, but I don't think they weren't one of the 6 submissions either. So we'll see. I don't know anyone else but Bardman.
Joel Barton from who did the feasibility
Site
study. Right.
Who did which building?
Site
The
feasibility.
architect who did the original feasibility study.
Joel that we worked with during the feasibility study.
Okay.
So that's sort of the status on that. Unless anybody's got anything else to add, I'll defer to our director report.
Well, that's the first paragraph in the report, more or less, anyway. Just everybody is up to date, I'm sure. But I gave you some numbers there as well, so I won't reiterate. But the next meeting is the 17th, which is next Tuesday, and we are asked to have reviewed and would select those for interviews. I'm not sure how many, I guess that depends on what they like.
Sure,
What will be
probably at least
discussed
three.
at Tuesday's meeting then?
The submissions.
This
So,
Tuesday,
six
we'll,
or just the one?
we as a committee will go through a grading mechanism to try to determine, based on the documents that they've submitted, who we think graded out in terms of the RFP. And we'll sort of reach a consensus on.
I mean, us being new to the process or the committee, does it take 2 different meetings to do that, or would we do it all in one? We did it all in one for the OPM.
I would think with just 6 applications, I thought we were a dozen, but with just 6, we'll probably just do it. So we'll grade them, we'll determine the top 3 on an average, almost numerical scale, and the town will issue invitations for those to come in and do it for an interview. So,
Anyway, okay, so, other stuff, you know, as I was putting my report together, I sort of, you know, I usually look back at my month and most of my calendar, but we had the weather in March. I mean, we were virtually closed for 2 or 3 days, different days, or even 4. Actually, we didn't run the van for 4 days. So just looking back, the storms were part of March for sure. Seems like forever ago now.
every week, it was a storm.
And it did dawn on me that we were considered, and the word was put out either through Chief Murphy's updates that he does on the town website, and people get those alerts if they've signed up for them. But he always says, day after the storm, especially when we continue to have the power outages, that the senior center is a warming station or center, as is the library, but at least we do coffee, as long as we have power. And I've said this before, of course, it's nice. It is nice if it's, at least it's warm, and if there's electricity and we do coffee, it's certainly the hospitality would be there. I just look forward to it being a site where people would enjoy that as they do in other places, because it would be a very nice way for community to get together and collect. Storms, you don't have that benefit. Nobody really can, is what I'm saying. In addition, I hadn't put in the report, but we are receiving some donations at this time from a bequest when someone had passed away, and their family and friends are sending some donations, which is nice.
Very nice.
when they do that.
Very nice.
It has happened a few times, but not for a little while, and this is the first time, obviously, this year.
Is there a way to acknowledge that? I mean, I don't want to pry, but.
Putting it in the news, I mean, acknowledging it that way, we send out a thank you.
Okay.
We'll send out a
Yeah,
thank you.
okay.
notice
Yeah,
of that.
good.
So that others know that.
I mean, if the family is interested in
Yeah.
being acknowledged publicly, we certainly want to acknowledge it privately. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
I also want to say that, that would be nice, because sometimes people just don't think of it, and now you're
Right.
reminding them that someone did a nice thing. and
Yes.
Yep,
It could be like an ongoing thing.
yep.
I do have to give out, later I thought, but some selections for our logo design, which I think she's really done a nice job, so I thought I'd give on the board an opportunity to indicate their first and second choices and really just not make it a unilateral thing. I brought her through just with continually sort of talking, and she's done some, created some options, and one thing would be perfect and something else, just a little something to change it. So anyway, I think she came up with, there are 6, more or less, differences, but I'll give you a chance to do that. Senior tax work-off program, total candidates placed are 23. One is withdrawing, so I have a new opening, but they may need specific skills. We'll see. It's really maybe being involved in inspections. So that 19
I mean,
to
last year
20
was
are
probably
placed
12
actually.
to 14, so now you're up to 23.
So well, I have 20 placed, with 3 not placed,
Okay.
yeah. And one of those might go into this other spot, but I'm not sure if they can. So that is pretty good.
Yeah.
We're getting a new repeater radio. I did buy that, and Mark Donovan is working on that for us, which he's really spent a lot of time, but I did buy it through our transportation funds from GATRA. He did approve that, and so radio, it is secondhand. I don't mean to say only, it was a $900 radio purchase, but that's because it was used versus a $3,000 radio purchase. And that's so that the drivers can communicate with us here at the center at all times, which right now they can't. If it's close by, they can, but if it's out of town, they can't. We had Officer Stenbeck that spoke just this week at the men's breakfast, and he was really delightful, and I actually received an email from one of the men who just was really appreciative and enjoyed the program, and I did go in for the ending, and he was just very impressive. What a nice young man, and he's the one designated at this point, liking him as the senior resource officer, like the school resource officer.
Yeah.
So already we had a report today from someone that was obviously a scam, and she had already responded in one manner, and that's too bad before she told us, but we would, we'll scan that and send that right to him. They do keep track of it.
Watch out for IRS scams. Tis the season.
So unfortunately too, I started with this, the SANS organization had organized a nonprofit summit. They did one earlier in the winter, and I couldn't go to that, I remember, because of a personal, it was on a Saturday. And now I can't go to the next one because they've scheduled it for April 26th, which is our Irish.
I emailed them that too. I said, that's the same night as it.
I mean, you know, I don't know when they scheduled that. Of course, ours had been
Yeah.
scheduled, so, although I wasn't at a meeting. So anyway, that is too bad because people did enjoy it and thought it was a good way to collaborate among nonprofits, and though we're not exactly that, it's just nice to know what we do, for them to know what we do, and vice versa, and maybe be able to share resources or information. The parade float, I don't know why I put it down there, I should have said it first. It's hard to believe that happened and we hadn't talked about it, but it was really such a great day, and I think overall a success for what we intended, which was visibility. So I did name names here. Actually, I did name names in the report. So, you know, our own board members, FOSS members, family members, everybody sort of pulled all together, but Lucille and Helen. Caitlin brought her husband to help us with the construction, as did Jill brought her husband, so they were both very helpful. Pauline Leslie, who helped with the banners, design of the banners as well for me, and Carol here, King, and Noreen Rowley, and Ed and his brother. So it really
Came together nicely.
I don't think
It really
forgot
did.
anybody,
It
really
really
was
did.
great. Oh, and
Great
actually, I
awareness.
don't want to neglect to mention that Sean Harris did really very nice, not only donated his
Mhm.
truck for us, which was his newest truck, it was a
But
beautiful
what about the
truck.
band? They were a big help too.
And the band, which I know, I feel like I had mentioned, but yes, I didn't put that in my report, but the Brown Brothers, who many of you know, and I wish we'd had a banner for them, because they deserved the recognition.
The
At
two
the
people that made a lot of noise.
And I saw them afterwards playing, so they could still play after that, because they were so frozen. I was afraid.
Maybe a little cold.
Oh, they said it was terrible.
Yeah.
So the Scituate Education Foundation grants were due at the, actually last week, April 7th. So we managed to get 2 in fact. I agreed to do one because she was interested in something that I did just decide would probably be something they might consider for a walking program, Nordic pole walking program. It was just a bit of an expensive training, and you get the poles, and it's a nice variation on the walking theme and program. So that's one, and the other one I wrote is a little bit more money than I asked for before, and in fact it was a little short for what I was asking for, but it's a program I I learned about, so it's memory training, and it comes out of the Longevity Center at UCLA. So part of it, which I'm sure they may gasp at, is to go out there and be trained, and then to come back and do the program. It's an 8-session. I mean, it's a valuable, people really would enjoy this, and they are doing it. Of course, they're doing it in Duxbury now. So, which is how I learned about it, because they wrote an article in the Patriot Ledger. Somebody actually called here thinking we were doing it, and then I just looked it up, and it really is a nice idea. So that said, part of the grant money would be for travel, and part of it, the license is expensive at $2,500. And then I didn't know about something else, so I'm a little short, but I'd be willing to self-fund a little bit just to get there and do it. But the memory program itself is great, and then the other part of the grant would be to follow it up with memoir writing workshops, which we are doing now. There is a group right now in a 6-week memoir writing class. But we could do it again. It would be the group continuing anyway, so it's a little bit more, and I thought we could collaborate somehow with classes at either the middle or high school, and either have the students work in class or hear about the stories, or have it as an after-school activity here. So it's kind of open-ended, and also brought in a visual memoir component if they wanted to do that as well.
And then we talked about this, but this is also, if you were quote-unquote licensed or certified, you'd be able to train.
We do it
future-
continually. I don't know
Right.
about the training exactly, but
you'd be able
we
to
would
then
do it
sort of,
continually, yeah.
recertify or license others, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that, no, I don't know if that's true,
Okay.
and I will ask, but we would just continue to do the program for others.
Okay,
So it would be money working,
right,
continuing to
right,
work.
right.
So a couple of the programs just to mention. So the 50+ Job Seekers Networking Program, which we did start the end of March. It was postponed from March 13th. That is with Susan Kelly, who had spoken at the town meeting. So she was doing it through MCOA. It was offered in grant form through MCOA. I didn't apply for that one. But then she ended up here in Scituate and offered to do that through the tax work-off program. So she's actually got 100 hours to give us and is doing that. So we've had 2 sessions already. Jenny is also co-facilitating with her, just being there. I thought it was good outreach and a good opportunity for her to do something a little concrete in a program. And so we had 10 attend the first session and 6 this week at the second one. But she's great, and I think it's okay if they come during a different week. They don't, it's ideal if you see them all, but it's a different topic every week, so it's okay if they, we don't want to call it a drop-in, but it's okay if they register late. The Artist's Way is starting the end of April, and that really is also a nice workshop, but it's 12 weeks. It is free, and it does follow the book The Artist's Way, which a lot of people do know, but there's sort of a chapter a week that you work through independently and then gather together as a group to discuss and sort of share what you found. And it is a creativity, connecting with your creativity. It's not necessarily being an artist per se. You could be a writer, you could be just someone who's just trying to investigate a little bit of what you might have, because you have the time now, or always wanted to do it. So,
How does the book come about? Who gets the book? Do you buy the book somewhere?
yeah, the book is the only thing that you have to buy in bookstore. The Artist's Way. It is really nice, and Esther Machio is the one volunteering to facilitate, and she's really great. Yes, she's very great. She is an artist who teaches a printmaker. She's a printmaker. She
She's going to be
teaches.
the facilitator?
Yes. Yeah.
What time is it?
On Tuesdays at 3 o'clock
Oh, here we go.
for a
Okay.
couple of hours. 3 to 5 or 5:30. Seniors Connect update, it's pretty much over, it is over. But you know what, the iPads are here. People can come and borrow them and use them at any time. The kids, the students, I should say, will continue to come monthly for the tech time. And so people that took part in the program can certainly continue to come. And if they developed a relationship and they want to still continue to meet with that student, they would be willing as well. So I think it went well. I think starting it was a little delayed because of the storms in the winter, so it did sort of feel like it was extended, and getting the adults to commit, I think, to the weekly and being available for the students showed up pretty much every week. but also they have commitments, so it was a little bit hard. Really keeping it to the relationship I was seeing was a little bit hard. In other words, getting the same student and the same senior at the same time
Right.
was a little bit challenging. But you know what, I think we could either do a little better, or it became less important because they were all just good, and it just gave you more opportunity really to get a different perspective from a different student. So it was great. The community drumming circle is coming up May 4th, I guess a month away, but we could take, I think I mentioned, 50 to 75 people. We're doing it at the other building just to have a little bit more space. And it is social conservatory. I just think it's a great experience, an hour with some refreshments afterwards to just kind of convene and see what people thought about it. So sign up. And seniorities, our next taping is tomorrow, I guess, but I did think, based on, unfortunately, what I listened to at town meeting and heard for comments, and not really being in a position at that time to respond to anything, but wanting to, I just feel there's information to put out there to further clarify or
Yeah.
Address some
promote
questions.
or
Yep.
help people understand, and that's what I think we're going to try to do tomorrow. In addition, we have some thoughts toward highlighting volunteers and volunteering at the senior center and bringing on community partners, whether it be SANS or Scituate Education Foundation. We talked about talking to the school superintendent, and Janice had a thought, and we've actually talked about bringing in different health care organizations and people that do different things that some may not understand if they haven't had the opportunity, so.
Do you know who the woman was, or somebody here might, who stood up and spoke? She had long dark hair, and she worked for the,
Oh, she's the one that said people are more important than buildings.
well, yeah, but that's,
Yes, Susan
Yeah,
Kelly, so
Susan
that's the
Kelly.
person
Oh,
doing the
that's
job
Susan Kelly.
networking program as well for us. So she is an independent career coach as well. She's working for MCOA, and she happens to live in Scituate. So she had come to the first public forum and did speak at that time, and that's when we met her. That's when I,
wow, she
Yeah.
was very good.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
very helpful. Yes, that was a really great comment that she moved to at that time. So dinner and game night also was great. I think we had about 14 seniors come and 8 or 10 students, which was really nice. So, and hoping everybody can come. It is a Thursday night, the evening of Irish music on April 26th. We do still have tickets, but we have sold over 100. So, I mean, we have a group now, but last year, I remember we had 180. So, still trying to sell those. We're planning the volunteer celebration for June, just to give you all a little forewarning if you want to attend. We're thinking of doing it at Widows Walk at the North River Grill. Something different. We've done it at the Maritime Center, for 5 years at least, if not more. Luncheons usually, and then last year we shook it up with the 4 o'clock sort of mocktails. But anyway, so we're thinking of going to the Widows Walk, which I think is a good idea. And also trying to plan something a little bit bigger for the July 4th luncheon, which we've done out back for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, out back in the parking lot. But we're thinking of doing something a little bit bigger with some entertainment this year. So I have Jenny's report, and unfortunately she was planning to come before going over to Kim's reception, but she had to run out. She had to get called to do something for her family. So her report is just listing the categories that she deals with in terms of outreach and the numbers. So her service interactions by category, and then the seniors served, so some with multiple interactions, as you can see, of course. So she's dealt a bit with some protective service calls for a couple of individuals and follow-ups with elder services. And of course, there was the storm preparation calls that we all did, she did, and even working at the shelter, which I did not do this time, but both Jenny and Laura shared that. Well, Laura is, part of her job description really is to be there, but Jenny gave her a little break and went up as well. Also housing applications and advocacy, and I think that that is becoming, well, it's always been important, and it's just something that we want to continue to look at and maybe try to arrange for more outreach with the housing authority, in fact, so we do seem to work well with them, it's just making sure we make those connections. Jenny does go monthly to the housing authorities, each of them for an hour. I don't know that they take full advantage of her, but I try to get that word out better. And as I mentioned, she's gone twice then to the group, which meets from 11 to 1 every other Tuesday at the community building, or maybe a couple of times at the library for the 50 and over job seeking. And you know, funny, she just mentioned that the people that have been attending are interested in working in the what do we want to call it, sort of the health and aging field. They are interested in doing that, which is just funny to see things in the trends. I think it is a trend today. Along with the population increase, it's also a trend because there are jobs there. Jean's report for transportation. So again, she notes we have a snow day, so we didn't run the van. You know, there's always still uncertainty about that. And it shouldn't be up to us. We don't want it necessarily to be up to us to decide when to run the van. So we unfortunately put it on the superintendent's shoulders, so if he cancels school, we know we don't run the van because it's generally about running the buses. But of course then, it's not necessarily that we're closed just because we're not running the vans. We sometimes vacillate on whether to run an activity because either it's something that people might have been looking forward to, the weather's not that bad, we don't want seniors to come out if they're at risk by any means.
Right.
But sometimes there's just a question. And
so the superintendent, you know, the robocalls go out. Is that something you could do to, like if the van's not running but you're still open, you could do a robocall, or if vice versa, if you're closed,
right.
you know.
It's hard, the system
Robocall
isn't
for the warning station.
Right.
If they could do it through the town for us, but it's still targeting the receivers of that phone call is not perfect in our system. So generally our robocalls, our automatic calls that we make are usually man-made. We devise those lists. And I mean, they're not perfect, but we don't want to call everybody that doesn't need to hear certain messages. So we create the groups that do. But then recently I did a couple of very big calls because I did access everyone from Scituate who is in our database or has participated or visited or had services in the last year and a half. So I did do that. That was a lot of people. That was 1,000. So it's just hard to know, and to send it to everybody, we could. We haven't done that yet. So it is there, and it's something to work on.
So we're talking about all these March snow days, we still had more rides in March than we did in February.
Yeah. True.
So,
We're reworking some of the categories here, so I eliminated, well, Jean and I, we eliminated a few, but you'll notice like nutrition site is 0 this month, but see off-site lunch, because she had more categories than she needed, so we just needed to sort of consolidate. And some of them don't tell the full story, so we're trying to get better at that, both for transportation and programs. But what you try to get out of that, like a COA out-of-town trip, is something that we organize, whether it is the museum or the flower show or something like that. A COA event is transporting clients to something that we do, or a program, either here or at the other building. But then fitness exercise is a separate category, which is really the same thing. So it's pulled out, but it is really the same thing. Although, technically, they could be getting a ride to the Congregational Church for a different exercise class that we don't sponsor. But, I mean, it is nice to know that we're doing that much for people. But the medical out of town, as you can see, is still a big one.
Yeah.
I will stop here and mention, for those who were at town meeting, that the last article brought up was the donation of $10,000 requested for Social Community Action Council, which is a nonprofit organization and a great agency. But I didn't know about that article. I'm not sure who presented it, as it was a citizen article, I thought.
Sounded like it.
Right.
It was.
Yeah.
But all the things they do for Scituate, they do through us, which I thought was interesting because all those fuel assistance numbers he mentioned go through, basically Jenny does that. Even for under 60, she facilitates all the fuel assistance applications, which does involve several interactions, often with new clients, paperwork, meeting, sending, mailing, we pay for the postage, just that was never mentioned. And then the transportation that he mentioned, and he had the number of rides, but we pay for them. So they're a third-party contractor for us.
Yeah, that should have been brought out.
That should have been brought
You
out.
did mention that.
Well, not the CEO. John did then when he got back up. He said, well, we pay this much money for that transportation. That number he would have got from Nancy, because he didn't ask me for that number. But just saying, and then actually they bring food, produce in the summertime that they do bring and donate for seniors. So, but all the interactions they have with us is through us. So I just thought it was too bad, a missed opportunity not to have mentioned that for everybody in the room. Now, granted, I don't know who was left, but, and I did introduce myself afterwards. A very nice man, but I just, maybe as CEO, he didn't know that. Maybe it's, the information that goes up doesn't always.
Yeah.
But that is true, so, and he had also mentioned that they wanted more people to know about what they do. Now, we put it in our newsletter. I'm sure we've talked about them as being the contractor for the out-of-town rides. I'm sure we have, because actually Frank Gay of Gatra would sort of like us to take it and do it and use our own drivers in the vans that they provide and pay for. Well, they pay for both services, but, so we haven't dared to do that yet because it's a big, you can see it's a big area. So, anyway, just thought that was a little aside there. And then I just gave you some numbers for, programs and activities and events that we've done. Again, sometimes it's just arbitrary, I know for you, but unduplicated, 200.
This?
No, we don't have
No,
that.
you don't have that, yeah, I'm sorry. At least I didn't have time for a report, and it's easy to generate the numbers, it's just, do they mean anything? But all I did was produce the categories that we use for the programs and activities that people sign in for, or we put in the system. And then on the back, I just chose the fitness and exercise numbers, because generally speaking, between that and recreation, you can see for yourselves, they are our biggest numbers. But also because it's nice to know how many programs there are that come in under that category. So that's part of it as well, where did mine go? So, I did break it down for myself. And in terms of fitness and exercise, you can see that the Balance for Life really captures quite a lot for us. Of course, they meet 3 times a week. Not everybody goes to all 3, but there's still 40 individuals who use that on a regular basis. And then in terms of the recreation, I didn't print that out, but, there's 88, 90 people, and trust me, I could tell you right now what numbers are low, because I just know, for instance, even the cafe talks, and thank you, Gordon, for that wonderful cafe talk. It was great, and we probably had 15, 16, 18 people here, but I think 6 signed in. So usually we do trust and rely on our volunteer at the front desk, or if I remember, sometimes we'll get up and we'll just say, oh, please sign in. But if we
So you're saying
don't,
the tracking mechanism.
if we don't, we
still-
miss them,
Yeah.
and after the fact, it's like, oh, who
Yeah.
was here?
Yeah.
And, some are very good and just some still aren't, or maybe they forget or they didn't bring it with them. So it is too bad. We can still add, if not 10% to those numbers, 5 at least, or a little bit more to the numbers we miss.
Linda, is the Zumba scheduled in,
The Zumba, if I didn't mention that at the last class, we lose people, right? We know that we lose people to Marshfield. There's over 100 people that go to Marshfield, we know, because we asked. And Norwell just sent me a message about how many come to programs there. Less, but many go to programs in Norwell. That doesn't mean they don't come here, but Cohasset, anyway, our instructor left to teach the class at the same time in Cohasset instead of for us. Now, people can also go there because it's close.
Sure.
So, but unfortunately, they took that time that we had.
so she's there Wednesday?
So she's there in Cohasset at that senior center on Wednesday mornings at 9. So we lost her, and we were moving them around, and it wasn't ideal. We didn't have a floor that was conducive, and we started using the gymnasium. But they were taking it over for another program. So again, just for some clarity, we'll work it out, and certainly it's a resource, but they use it during the day, and they do have a priority.
Linda, do the pickleball numbers fall into here anywhere?
They do, recreation.
Recreation,
Those are
okay.
recreation.
So I think we know the pickleball numbers right now, I didn't print that one out, are at about 39, I think. Yeah, about that.
Uh-huh.
In terms of if one person has come once and they're in the system, then they're counted.
Mhm.
One person could come 8 times, technically they're counted once for our unduplicated. So they could come once, they could come every week, but unduplicated is that number. And I know I did hear that last Monday,
About 30 people.
which is actually too many. And
Yeah.
so we need to start thinking about perhaps a new process and maybe sign-ups, registering. So, that is a good problem, but a newer problem.
It's a nice problem to have, though.
And the numbers have expanded because so has the broader,
Interesting.
range, and of abilities too, so. But it's great. And like, for instance, next week, we can't have it because Jenkins is
Oh,
closed.
that's right.
So I did inquire with Mara for recreation, like, is that time open? Could we use the gym if we can't use Jenkins? I mean, they have it, they're doing it twice a week themselves, so, we just, if it's there, even if it's a different time, maybe we would be able to do that, but we don't know that yet. So that, I think I have talked quite enough. Why don't I wait till the end of the meeting for
Thank you.
that?
Okay.
Can I just mention something? Linda can skip over Sean, which is okay. I just want to mention,
Oh,
I
I
had
didn't
a
mean-
gentleman in my office today who raved about Norm.
Norm? Sure.
And how he helped him with the
Oh.
process of getting his
Yeah, he's
Medicare
good.
supplement, how he saved the money.
Yes.
The man was like not touching the floor, he was so excited.
And we hear that all the time, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry I glazed over that, because I actually added him, because Jenny doesn't include him usually, and I did put those numbers there
He's
for Norman.
knowledgeable, he's very knowledgeable.
Oh my God, he's a bottomless pit of knowledge.
He takes this crazy convoluted system and settles it down and makes it coherent and logical and talks to people
And
and
it's not a
figures it out
short,
for them.
it's not a short meeting,
Yeah.
he does it in great detail, he goes home and he does the searches for
Yep.
people because there is, there's changes based on pharmacy, based on medication, based on doctors.
And when he
It's
sends
amazing.
back a report, it's very specific to what you were
Yeah.
discussing with him. It's
Right.
not just a generic.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say, I mean, he is the man right now, right? He's the
Yeah.
only volunteer. I mean, Jenny sort of supports him and does some of what he does, but not all of it. And we wonder, what would we do without him? And a man does live in Scituate, that is the Shine counselor in Hingham.
Don Mullen.
He's volunteer.
Anyway, so he's offering maybe to back up
Oh.
Norm. Norm did train him, and so we might, when Norm goes away on vacation, we may just fill in and just to have somebody else, just in case. But those are the numbers, so again, this isn't even, a particular time period for enrollment.
Yeah, busy time
It's just
period, right.
insurance and usually Medicare, if anyone is leaving early, if you are leaving,
Yeah,
why
I'm just
don't you take it out? I wasn't going to give these out, but what's next on the agenda? Oh, liaison. So we can do that.
Yeah, okay. Very good, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Linda on any and all of that? Covered a lot of territory there. Okay, Joan?
Well,
Go on,
first, I
self-reliance.
want to tell the seniors how proud I am of all the ones that came to the meeting. Because I know it was hard for some of them to go to an evening meeting. But they gotta remember, we gotta keep strong, because this is only the first step. So I was really impressed by them.
You know, Joan, I just want to say there's a testament to that, because the next night they had like 300 and some odd.
Right.
So you think that was all, seniors supporting it on that Monday night. I thought that was amazing.
Well, a lot of the seniors came the next night too, though. It was, I was surprised.
Many, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And John Dan, he did, when he called and left me a message today that wasn't sure if he made it, he really did express the fact that we are, I think he used the term, I know he used the term, taking the bull by the horns, which I'm not sure what, he just means we are moving forward full throttle, I guess would be a good way to look at that. And so,
It was very good.
enthusiastic.
So South Shore Early meeting was on April 3rd. They always do a financial detailed report. And Connie Mulligan, who is the vice president of the board, has resigned as board member because she's moving to California. And Sandra talked about the rules to be nominated to the board. The Council of Aging appoints a person who has to be approved by the South Shore Elderly Services. And Mass Health, they have candidates, a candidate who might be taking Norman's place for Mass General.
Taking whose place?
Norman is no longer at Mass Home Care.
Oh.
A different Norman.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
Nutrition caters a meeting. They're having a special meeting in April 20th, and they put out a bid to the papers for caterers. They have to do that every 3 years. We're hoping we'll keep the ones we have.
To go out to
We
bid.
really like them, but they have to do that.
Oh, Lindley, yeah, they're good.
But they have to do that every 3 years. So it's like what's in the paper, you know. So that meeting's going to be the 20th. And they talked a lot about the protective services. Sandra is on the board for the state, and the board training was done by Jill Carr, who is now the head of the protective services for South Shore Elderly Services. And they have a hotline now that's an 800 number. So what happens is someone calls the 800 number, and then they send it to whatever agency, which is usually South Shore Elderly. The number goes to a medical team, and then that's sent out to them, and then they have 24-hour service, and so the South Shore Elderly does screen what they get. And weekends it goes to a computer, but then they're screened to see which ones are really emergencies and which ones, aren't. They get 120 to 140 calls a month.
For protective services.
Yeah, that number, the 800 number. And
That's four a
25.
day.
Huh?
I was gonna say,
They get
that's,
4 a day for protective
So it's the
services.
800 number for the whole, is
Mhm.
that
Right.
the whole
For this whole
state?
region,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
but
state
still.
or this area?
that's one
For the
month,
state.
right?
For the state,
Okay.
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they say 25% are screened out. And community dinner is going to be the 22nd, which is the fourth Sunday, not the fifth Sunday, which is the last Sunday. It's the fourth Sunday. And it's going to be ham, macaroni and cheese, vegetables, salad and rolls, and chocolate cheesecake.
So it's St. Luke's,
It's St. Luke's,
5 o'clock,
5 o'clock.
April 22nd.
Right.
Okay.
And sometimes you invite different organizations to serve, or otherwise is it St. Luke's
Well,
volunteers?
Sometimes, a few times we've had like the Girl Scouts that will come.
Yes, and the Rotary Club.
They have done that in like, they might like the dessert or make centerpieces.
Mhm.
The Boy Scouts have helped us. And Rotary does it now like once a year.
Right. But otherwise, it's St.
It's
Luke's
St. Luke's.
volunteers.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. Carol? Friends of Scituate Seniors.
I would also, on behalf of the Friends of Scituate Seniors, I would like to thank the registered voters of Scituate who came out to the town meeting to support the new senior center. We are so appreciative of them investing the time it took to be well-informed voters. FOSS would also like to thank the Council on Aging's Board of Directors for all of their support and guidance throughout this campaign. And like you said, it's just the beginning.
We got work to do still,
But we're off to a really good positive start. We would especially like to thank Dr. Gordon Price for his boots on the ground help at the transfer station and at the village marketplace. And of course to all the board members who did the last day of the flyer handout just before the town meeting. Thank you to Linda Hayes for putting the flyer together. It just goes to show what teamwork and a positive attitude can accomplish. Our meeting this past Tuesday was centered on the upcoming golf tournament, which is Friday, June 15th. We've got a shotgun start at 8:30 a.m. and the cost per golfer is $125, which includes the round of golf, carts, and lunch. If anybody would like to join us for just the lunch and raffles, the cost is $30, and we are looking for hole sponsors, and that's $100 a piece. And we are also looking for $5 and $10 lottery tickets and gift cards from local restaurants that we will use to assemble money trees for our raffles. Anyone who would like to mail their donations, the address is P.O. Box, it's Foss, P.O. Box 75, North Scituate 02060. Our spaghetti dinner is this Saturday at 5 p.m. at the Congregational Church on Country Way, and I think we might possibly have 8 or 9 tickets left, but we've sold all the rest.
Good.
And that's the 26th. Spaghetti dinner, what? This Saturday?
This coming, it's the
14th, this
we're-
Saturday.
14th.
This Saturday.
14th, it's
Okay.
this Saturday,
Saturday,
the
yeah.
14th.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think the tickets might have, well, maybe there are still a few.
Needless
We
to
took
say,
what
we had a
Carol
very
had
happy
on.
meeting.
Good, thank you. Well, we don't have John here, so we don't have any, unless you had a conversation to
No.
report out or anything?
No, he just left a message that he was just very interested in being here, wants to have a conversation, wants to talk with everyone. I don't know what we may decide, if we're just going to continue to wait and have our monthly meeting in May, or whether we will call additional meetings, or I don't know, but he is interested in moving forward quickly. He has thought, well, I shouldn't convey this, but let me restart. Our OPM feels it's aggressive to get to next town meeting with all of what we're looking for. So next annual town meeting is what I say, is next
When?
April. Now, there was some hope that we would get to a special town meeting, and a couple might be holding on to that hope, but in the OPM's opinion, he thought we were being aggressive, well, not being aggressive, he thought it would be an aggressive goal, but one we would meet.
For a special,
No, for the regular
For the
town.
regular.
for next year?
For next year. But we'll see. So I think, to John's point, I think he's hoping if we just, move quickly,
Why
You
does
know-
he think it's like aggressive?
because there's a lot that goes into it, and honestly, I can't maybe even speak to that. Between the architect themselves, it was just the senior center design. I mean, I don't know, but going out to bid, because just the
looking at
process to get here. It started in January, and here we are, April. Now, maybe it could have been a little sooner if we hadn't had to wait for town meeting, but it
Well,
just,
we'll find out.
so we'll see. So anyway, those are
First thing,
Those
next
are
step is next step. We gotta
opportunities.
zero in on an architect. So,
But there, it was nice to hear, Laura's introduction when she introduced the different articles, and that the senior center was the priority. And John had more information that he was looking forward to conveying, but didn't really get the chance. So it was anyway, but it went.
okay. Yeah? Anything
Yeah,
else?
I just don't want to go out of turn, so, go ahead. You go ahead, because this is separate, this is.
Well, I'm not sure if anybody had a subcommittee report, so I'll stay on the agenda.
No, we thought we'd wait, till after the parade. I mean, that was
Yes,
sort
Yep.
of one of our goals,
Yep.
was to just have public awareness, and I think we accomplished that goal.
Well, and I could say now, I think really looking at how to market. Okay, so immediately I'm thinking like with SCTV, I mean, that is a form. The Mariner hasn't really been good to us, but quite frankly, but at the same time, I can go back to them and try with actually it was Joanne Ball, I think, suggested I put the article that did outline sort of the facts and the steps, and put that in the paper, and I could update it, and that was a nice suggestion to make. But other things like our town website page, I talked with, we have George Mack, who's another tax worker, former graphic designer, retired graphic designer, I should say, and he said we could put, I was thinking of like a fact of the day, or just something you didn't know about the senior center, and he said it could be on a loop. And so it could continue to run, or putting a slideshow of photos, which we've just not done, we didn't have the expertise anyway, or the time to think about it. But those are a few kinds of things, but how to market.
Well, I was thinking of the fact that we made some sort of connection with the Mariner where maybe one of us or whatever, that there should be something running, like a special column for updates on or what we've been, let's say we plan to, we plan to do the circuit, like run, go to different, different organizations and talk about it. Well, that should be in this, in an update.
So we should make a plan, but we do planning.
But we've got to get it, because I think
I've had
people
that
sit around and
conversation
read
with,
that.
I've had that conversation with, I don't mean to make names, but with Ruth Thompson, I mean, we can sit down and do a series.
Yeah, I think we should meet with her separately
Yeah.
and give her the idea, because they're always looking for ideas.
Yep.
They look to us for ideas.
A lot of times she wants to put it in the paper, but she's not the one that decides, because we're having trouble with that with Rotary, we're having trouble
But
with that
there's,
with the DA.
I know, there's no, they still don't have a director.
She said, I'll try to get it in, but I'm not the one that makes the decision.
Okay.
So it's,
But, this is very, it's a focus on the town, and this is a big thing that happened on Monday night, I mean, it's a start. But like, I don't know, sort of questions and answers, or besides the
Well, we could
photos.
do like a website, a link from the town, going to the a website with just, the progress and what's going on, and if there's upcoming meetings, and, a link from the town website to that might be helpful.
To the newspaper, you mean?
No, to just a website,
To
maybe
an
that
informational
gentleman can make a
website.
website for,
But for those who,
but
who
the
don't go into.
project, and,
Yeah.
just saying, on Tuesday,
Well,
there's gonna be an
yep.
upcoming meeting.
well, and I am going to continue, it doesn't always have to be that, but, coffee with the
Not
director
everybody
and
gets the
guests
Mariner
who
anyway.
could.
Right,
I mean,
right,
a lot of people
absolutely.
are locked into electronic.
Yeah, no, I foresee almost a monthly, maybe every 6 weeks, public meeting.
Right. So that'll be in the newsletter,
Something in
but
July,
that's here at 10 or
something in
10:30
Yeah.
or.
September 1st and something in, I mean, we'll do
We
the
could
public
move it
forums
around, I
again.
suppose
You
we
know,
could move it around.
I think one of the sites that I've noticed that's very new and noticeable to me is Karen Canfield's regular updates on Scituate Monthly.
See, that's
Every week.
what
Yeah.
I'm talking about,
That,
basically.
I think, is a very positive, and it's nothing more than factual.
Yeah.
This is the
Yep.
meeting
Yeah.
that's happening this week.
Yeah.
This is what's being discussed this week. This
Yeah.
is the meeting. This is the success this week. This is what, all of
That-
just
yeah, that's-
factual.
And I know the website and all that, but some of them don't go
But
to the
that's
website.
how, no, but like, that's how the group that were pushing the new middle school,
Yeah.
like, they had a
Mhm. Sure,
big website.
and we should talk to, we should talk to
is
them.
still
the question I
a
have.
It is,
In
it
town.
is, yeah, but they had a Facebook page, and we had like a Facebook page and a website, I mean,
Right.
because not everybody's on Facebook.
We have a Facebook page.
You do?
It is Scituate Council
Scituate
on
Council on
Aging. Now, unfortunately, I wanted to have a username, Scituate Senior Center, and actually that was taken. I can believe that.
You're
because
kidding.
There's one in Rhode Island.
Oh.
I guess, that's my assumption, because who else would have it? But somebody has it. So in other words, if people just searched on Facebook for Scituate, well, I guess they'd still find us.
It pulls up Rhode
It's
Island.
just not,
It does.
Yeah.
We have that with the Rotary. There's
Yeah.
a
Well, the Rotary,
Rotary
because
Club at
there's
Scituate, Rhode
Rotary
Island.
in Scituate, Mass,
Yeah.
and Rotary in Scituate, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So if you don't put Mass,
So
it's
they
Scituate,
got
Yeah.
everything.
Rhode
It pulls up
Island.
Rhode Island.
So our username is, town of, I forget what I did now, but anyway, I think they still find us, it's just not quite as direct and easy.
There's a lot of comments, though. What does this center offer?
Yeah.
Just a
Right.
list of what's going on
Right.
every week. Just,
Facts you
all
should
the
know.
stuff.
Facts.
But
Yeah.
like have it,
Not
maybe every week is a
controversial.
problem, but I don't
Right.
know. I mean, I think the more press you get and the more you're in their face.
Well,
Right.
and Bill's,
And the
certainly if
more people are
I
informed,
did
the
ask
better.
to have
Right.
something regular
We
or to
should
share it.
coordinate
But if
about
it's
range.
specific to the project,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what people wanna find
Yeah,
out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah.
So I think we should have sort of a brainstorming idea about this, because we
You know,
could all have input.
Right. I mean, for us, it's been about trying to present what we do program-wise and get people to come, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So that's hard to get it out with just that, but that's what we try to do. Now we need to go beyond that, I guess.
But, you know, Henry had that friend that we met who
yeah.
was very responsive.
Yeah.
He's very involved with the Marshfield Senior Center. As I suggested, you know, we don't have to be on camera for that, but if we got together with him, he could sort of, you know, tell us the problems that they ran into, or, you know, how to turn it around to something positive.
His guidelines were good, and basically it is getting out in the community and
Get the
talking.
experience of people that.
So
are-
making a list of the different organizations that we could talk to,
Right.
you know, people
we
who
should
know
have a
other
regular
people
circuit,
or are
right,
involved in
right.
other things, that we could talk to them. I think that would be great when they have
That's a
meetings.
big part of it now.
Mhm.
Okay.
I can do my slideshow.
So I won't be, I don't, you know, I have to figure on when we could have another meeting. We talk about that later.
Okay,
Or
we can do
after
that
this.
offline.
The next step in marketing.
Well, and I do not have anything to report out on the advisory. There, John. We had somebody, you know, somebody was sick, somebody, you know, couldn't make it because they had a conflict. So there's only going to be a couple of people, so we said, why don't we hold? And so we'll have another meeting. Our meeting is scheduled for, I think, end of this month, or maybe the 23rd.
23rd.
So we'll be back meeting on the 23rd, but otherwise, we did not have a meeting. And it was, you know, 10 days before town meeting this past week, so we figured there was gonna be something to discuss or flesh out from town meeting, so we did that. We've been joined.
Sorry,
Thanks for coming.
sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
No, thanks for
We
I
had
feel
coming.
like
two
every time
others who
I
had
come
to
here,
leave
I have
early.
something that's going on with my kids, and actually, my son played baseball in Quincy, and I have his car. I just got out of there quickly, and he's coming back on the bus, and I'm sorry that I missed your meeting. He hit his first home run.
Beautiful.
So I'm excited about it, so I'm
Excited
glad I
about
went. I'm sorry I missed your meeting, but I'm happy to give you any updates. I think everybody knows what the update is right now.
Yeah, we
But, you know, as far as like what the next steps are, I'm happy to tell you exactly what we're doing. And,
Sure. I mean, the floor is yours, because we're almost done with our.
Two people had to leave, Gordon had to leave and Helen had to leave.
So now that the funds have been appropriated, I actually need to find out from the town administrator, I figured I'd give him a day or two, to find out, okay, since it's free cash, I believe it's already available. So the RFPs to be able to go out to the architects should be, they should be sent, I think.
We already got them.
So they're out, okay, so the
We've
architects.
already got the 6 responses.
They were,
This was already,
Yeah, we're meeting on Tuesday to
to
discuss.
go to discuss
To-
the 6 of them then?
Correct.
yes.
All right, so that's taken care of.
And then we'll be meeting a week after Tuesday to bring him in for interviews.
For interviews, that would be great. One of the things that I wanted to talk to the other members of my board is that, to say the design is going to be the most important. Not the needs assessment, that's obvious. We know what we need as far as the building goes, space-wise and everything, but the design as far as the aesthetics from the outside, because that's going to be the big issue. I think,
Important
for a
to
lot
the
of people.
community.
Correct. One of the things I do want them to take a look at is, and maybe because I thought about it when I was driving the second day of the night of our town meeting, was to take a look and see just the original building itself. You know, like what, I was thinking about it, I was thinking, you know, when they added on, they would have had to have sistered up the walls. You know, whether or not the initial old building, if there's anything to be used, not as part of the 15,000 square
Yeah,
feet.
yeah.
This is just something that you might be able to preserve for the aesthetics potentially, if there's a possibility. But again, I'm excited. My push right now is to figure out the design and have control, not by me, but I mean by people, to understand what are we getting. And, you know, the timetable, I think that's, I don't want to push anybody and say, we want to rush this thing anywhere, but we also don't want this to be delayed. And my feeling is, well, I didn't get to do my spiel on Monday night.
I know. You want to do it now?
We got, sometimes the power of persuasion is just being able to get what you need, and that's exactly all we needed on Monday. But my feeling is, this is our moment. This has got to happen right now. There are going to be a lot of other asks, And nothing wrong with it, it's just that now's the time that we need to really push this. So my question is going to be, can we move things along expeditiously without rushing, so we get everything we need for questions? And then also, you know, and think about whether or not do we have a special. And I know they're right now thinking annual, but I'm like, we gotta think about that. If it's possible to do a special, I'd like to see if we can push that.
Yeah. Karen comes to the Public Building Commission meetings, I think.
And I know, so I'm excited, I really am. I'm really excited to see how this is gonna actually play out now. And you know, as I say, there are always going to be people who will vote against it because they can't afford it. I respect that. There'll be people who may disagree, and that's okay, that happens. We just need to make sure, we being the town, need to make sure that we have the answers to provide for people who may be, you know, less informed, who might need no more information, that's all. And we'll put that together, and then they'll be able to have a...
Were you surprised
No, we
about
need
the
to-
size?
The size of the people? You know what? Yes, I was. What happened was, it wasn't until the morning that I began to say to myself, you know what? We could have 650 people here. Turned out to be 825.
Yeah.
And the tough thing is, you know, somebody emailed us today and said, thank you, you had it in the auditorium, because the seats were comfortable, we could
Yeah,
hear.
very comfortable.
And I thought to myself, I know it was really kind of disjointed a little bit, but I think the other thing is, one, get there early so you get a seat. And the second is, we had the overflow like we did. I think it's just a matter of logistics to work it out. And you know, the moderator will have to figure out how to communicate and do a better job communicating. But I'm not, I did say maybe we should reconsider it again, we will, but I'm like, I don't know. It is comfortable.
Joan and I had this conversation the other night. My feeling was it was nice to be in comfortable seats.
Yeah. I mean, because
Because those bleachers are pretty tough. But Joan's point was we didn't have enough, you know, those logistics, we didn't have enough room.
You can't move.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the
And
thoughts,
older people, like, I have spurs in my back.
we'll see after
Yeah.
that.
Well, she
And
just
the other
couldn't
thing was,
move around because you
where
were
I
locked
was,
in.
you could only get out one way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the seniors, you know, they gotta go back.
Well, even,
Yes.
I will say, when I'm sitting there for a play or something, you do, there's not, I wish there was like another 6 inches, so you have a little bit more space to
Yeah.
ambulate through it.
I got a lot of feedback from people who were very angry and left
Because they didn't like
because
it.
they couldn't get a seat.
Couldn't get a seat.
Well, the
People
next,
who had come because I asked them to come.
well, one thing I will say is the next, anything dealing with,
Yeah.
I keep saying senior center, heritage center, culture, whatever we're gonna use semantically, it'll be in the gymnasium because of the anticipation of a lot of people. But, so yeah, I'm really excited now. I'm like, okay, now we're in that zone of saying, let's figure out what we're gonna do with the design. It can be such a beautiful project, and I'm like, I'm really psyched.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are.
Pleased and thank you for your support. And we've been talking about marketing and what we can do for that.
Yeah.
We will. Well, you know, and I'm, you know, both from,
Informational town sessions, you know, in
Yeah.
July and in August and
Yeah.
September, depending on what we're doing for timing.
I think one thing to
Keep
do is
people up to
keep
date.
doing an update.
Yeah.
And then, once
Yeah.
we get closer and we have all the figures, then we're gonna go out
A roadshow.
and really do little teas, coffees, or whatever,
Yeah.
to bring people in different areas, so they don't say, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I didn't,
It will happen.
I didn't hear about
But
this.
then they'll be like, why don't we have this information? It's just, their schedules are not committed to what's happening, but we'll have that.
Right.
We were talking about the Marina, you know, maybe, but I'm thinking now, you know, the way they have the sports and the obituary thing, we should have a little headline in there, like Scituate Center update, you know, where they just go right to that page, and
They can
let's
say-
say, for instance, you're gonna be meeting with those 6 people next week, you know, I mean, just even, it doesn't have to be wordy, a long wordy thing, but just updates, keep it every week in your mind, look at this, we're moving along.
I think as we get closer, that would be something that I'll certainly talk with you folks, to maybe even within the town website for the council on aging.
Yeah, we
Yep.
did talk about
Because I know, you know, you'll post it, which is great, to other formats, and then people can either choose to look or not.
There's also a peach jar.
Yeah, I know. I meant to do that for town meeting and I just didn't get to that.
Like it's a peach jar, all
That'd be
the schools.
The electronic newsletter
Oh, yeah.
for the schools.
And you,
Yeah,
you
that's
all
And
do.
they,
E-
and
e-pack-
lots of
e-backpack
agencies,
kind of
lots
thing?
of different groups, but
Don't they have that?
you must get them. There's a lot of different,
Well, because my, usually with clients, so they don't necessarily, but,
But lots of different groups in town send out information through that. And it's not just, school.
The one thing I want to say is to everybody, you did a phenomenal job, whether it's communicating it to friends and family and people to show up, also to go online and try to address certain issues at certain points. The most important thing is that we, as a board and as town municipalities, just to get the facts out, just the facts.
Yes.
Because it's the misinformation that can create a lot of distrust and issues, and so facts are very important. And one thing I always say is, if we don't have them, we don't want to publish them, because if you rush to judgment, so to speak, it can create more problems than help. But anyway, that's my update. I'll make sure that,
Thank you.
I'll let you know exactly as we go. Well, you're going to be here too, but I'm excited for architect and sitting down with design and seeing what we're going to do.
I stopped by to offer my thanks the other day, and you weren't there. But, well, you were getting ready for Tuesday.
Yeah,
And I've got an email that I started to send to you, and I didn't finish it, but I thought you did a good job on Monday night. I didn't come back on Tuesday.
I felt
I thought
bad
you did a
because
good job.
I had 14-page outline.
And I couldn't talk.
Just as well.
And I was just but then what happened was, it was ironic because normally what happens is we have an opportunity to present. That didn't happen because the question was raised, the whole debate was started, and so then I was trying to address that question. Then I started answering all these questions.
Yeah.
Then one gentleman asked something, so then I launched into it, and then I got outside the scope of the question, so then I was like, all right. And then the town administrator said, well, I just want to say something, and before long he jumped in front of me, and I'm like, wait a minute now I'm totally relegated to the back. But you could tell from the temperament, if you will, of the audience, that it seemed to me that it was going to pass. And sometimes, in my profession, you got to know when to speak, and sometimes you got to know when you don't need to speak.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Right.
Right.
It ended up being that way. I'm like,
Right.
you don't need to hear my spiel.
Right.
It was good.
Well, you'll save it for next time.
Well, actually, that's what it says.
Yeah,
Some of the
many
facts that
more
we're talking about are
Yeah,
going to be
keep those
used again.
notes.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly it. So,
Definitely more.
Don't want
We'll use them at some point.
It's exciting. Like I said,
It is.
I'm really the opportunity of doing something. Just like I say, the gymnasium, the programs, everything. I'm like, and the other thing that I like, I said to somebody, is there's so much room for the future town to expand.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You can really add on to, because there's a lot of land there.
Yeah.
To do something.
We want to be vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
I'll
no,
keep talking.
thank you very
so
much
All
for,
right. Thank you.
thanks for stopping in. Glad to hear you saw the home run.
I did, actually. I went out in the woods and actually found it.
Oh,
So I'm gonna grab him now.
Excellent.
So I think he'll be.
Great.
And thanks
Probably
again for,
gotta keep it for myself more so than for him, but
Yeah.
sure. I'll keep it
Yes.
for him,
thanks again for Monday and Tuesday night, though.
Have him autograph it for you.
Well, I was thinking of putting the date and the score and the
Absolutely.
distance and then give it to him, but I think it'll come
Absolutely.
back.
I think it's good.
But I'm
I mean, you
excited.
can't say 500 feet, though.
I might embellish a little bit. I'm his dad, so even though he's his dad, you have that luxury as a parent to
You're right.
embellish a little bit.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
I
very
will be
much.
back, I'll be back at the next one on my calendar. Just so you know, it looks as though that'll be the chair, so that's why I'm really, I want to move this so that we have nailed down any questions. I'm always accessible, and unfortunately, usually I'm at the office, John, so JD's on my name. All right.
Thank you.
Again, folks.
Thank you.
All right, We'll talk.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for
I
stopping in.
feel terrible, I keep running.
Yeah, no,
Come in and I'm out, but
We appreciate your
I'm
time.
gonna make sure I get my schedule squared.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Bye.
Good night.
Well, that was great. So I'm not sure if anybody's got anything else to add, because
I would like to add something, to just go back to the marketing thing for a moment. The Friends group has had a great deal of success posting on our Facebook page, but also sharing it onto the Scituate Monthly page.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Which is not always heinous evil land. I mean, it's a great, there's 10,000 people that are on Scituate Monthly, so we've had good luck really getting information out on there.
And truthfully, they're the ones often who are misinformed or not informed as much as we'd like, so it is maybe
Or
the place.
misinforming.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
well,
So
that's
it would, so they would be the
But I'm just-
largest
yeah.
group to
Yeah.
benefit from good information,
Yeah.
from nice,
But
accurate,
it
good
does have to, it
information.
just has to have a formal sort of,
We work on a format, because be nice even for him to weigh in. He's, you know, like, maybe people that really hands-on this week or whatever, write a blurb, you know,
Yeah.
it could be our blurb, you
Yeah.
know, and with the title and whatever, but like coming from him, you know, they know,
Couple
okay.
comments there, and a couple of
Yeah,
facts, and
yeah.
a couple of
We
dates. and-
People should weigh in, we should weigh in every week almost if we have some news.
Yeah.
Not much, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll work on, I know, I mean, Ruth is pretty good, and, you know, maybe we could, really, I'm not kidding, like, I don't want to be by the obituaries, but, you know, I want to put us up. Right after sports, maybe?
Well, you want to be on a
Little bit
well-read
of us to be
page
there.
though, don't you?
Yeah, but, you know.
You're not in the
We're
obituary.
gonna
Don't
like
have
class,
to
but
do
like,
that.
yeah, so I think we'll
But
do-
anyway, I'm gonna try, we gotta get a,
Yeah,
We
I
gotta
think
get
that's a
in there.
really good idea.
right? Do you think?
I do, I
mean,
think it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'd also like to thank Janice because you made several really excellent comments on the Scituate Monthly page. And you were calm and rational and informative. And where I was like reading the same posts, jumping up and down and screaming, you know,
Yeah.
I just,
There were
thank
some
you
that were
so
really
much.
bad. There were some that were really bad, I
Yeah,
thought.
they were
Yep.
terrible. But thank you.
Thank you, good to have.
Well, Talk to Elderly does a lot on website and Twitter. That's
Yeah, well,
really
I
a
mean,
lot
we
on
have when
Twitter.
we
Every
started-
day they got something.
But we don't quite have the following, so
Yeah,
find us,
or
you know.
the-
And I
yeah.
do
I think
say
we
now,
do
please
that.
share if I do.
Maybe like the you know, the logo, we start to see that logo, you know, and put that logo in every week for our byline or something, I don't know.
That's good. I mean, before we break, I want to mention that they had just had the Projects for a Purpose right before our meeting, so this was something that Lisa's been doing with some seniors who signed up and the Girl Scouts.
Oh, nice.
So they made these plants, they were going to Cardigan, actually.
Nice.
So,
Good.
just a little decor.
Very nice.
Very cute.
But I did want to, if it's
Well,
okay
do you
for
want
me
to
to
pass
butt
this
in,
along
just
now? You wanna
get the
close-
boards.
You want to close the meeting?
Either
And
way,
then do that.
either way, yeah.
Why don't we, do we have any other business? I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Very good. Thank you.